actually, years ago. This maybe like 3-4 years ago when he was on Vega Academy. Because I was reading it before the max. I remember listening about or hearing about it, but never fully committing. And he's just a good guy. He just comes off as a dude that's been dedicated to Dota. Honestly, I won't lie. He comes off as someone that's sick like all of us. Like he's addicted to Dota. And he can't, and his life is like taking a turn, which he's happy about, but a normal person shouldn't be. But like it's good because he's a Dota fan. And I like that. No, I can relate to that sickness. So good for you, Steelborg.
Oh, did they put? Oh, they did. Small mistake from Felt. They've double obsed up here on the cliff. Steelborg goes thinking, yeah, he will just deny one of them. Just to make sure they don't give too much gold, and they have blocked the camp. Pretty, I wouldn't want to call it new development, but I first saw Viking GG do this in 729. They were super keen on always blocking.
Well, the small camp block.
Yeah,
right?
especially because that was the patch where all the mid laners would just build Dragon Lances and TA would farm everything. Yeah, and it's incredibly effective at shutting down the small little efficiency plays, you know.
I think it's funny because usually you do this because you think that like yeah, it's efficiency, but usually this means you think the enemy mid laner has a matchup where this is allowed. Like he can just go to the small camp and there's no issue. And usually that means that his lane is not so good. But both teams think that, right? Because in the case of Lesh, is because his lane is so good he can just push the lane out and go and take the small camp. In the case of Kunkka, is his lane is actually not that great, and so he has to go take the small camp to recover.
For little boy killed a courier. You know, you don't.
Oh. What? He turned into a Cory and went to the enemy base.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, okay. Okay, well that's good for little boy.
Yeah, I always forget you can do that. He was a little early on the gun though, on the jump rather. Yeah, because the towers will not attack the Mischief Monkey King. I'm not.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
And he won't show on the map either, so you actually can do that.
Yeah.
I actually noticed there's a Dota tip that tells you this, by the way.
Really?
Like, yeah, there's one of the Dota tips saying if you go Mischief, the enemies can't see you on the map. Also, towers can't attack you. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dota.
That got some. That I think was the most recent adjustment to Dota as well. Now you can turn into lane creeps, and there's a couple of other really small things. So Valve really wants this shard to become popular, and I'm fine with that, to be honest. I really like these kind of flashy outplay kind of mechanics. You know, the manta dodging and all this other kind of skill-based things.
Look, my favorite play in Dota 1 was when there's two of the same kind, which is when Chen used to like dominate creeps. It's kind of hard to tell that he was dominated, right? So there was this play that you would make that you just put the lane creeps in the same camp as like you pretend like it was a normal camp of neutrals, and then all of a sudden they would start attacking you using spells and stun you, and Chen would come from nowhere. It was hilarious. Like you would dominate a whole camp of centaurs, and then he would like be prepared there with a smoke with his team because there was no smokes in Dota 1, and that was honestly more common than I'd like to admit. It was like a big meme in the Dota 1 community.
Yeah, you know,
I miss those plays.
I always prefer to do the ogre, kill the big creep, and then sit in the camp.
Oh, that was hilarious. That was really funny. Because ogre and the frost mage used to have the same model in Dota 1, and like I said, it was kind of hard to tell them apart. Also, people were just bad at the game, so people could just pretend to be the ogre frost mage in a neutral camp.
Yeah, so Felt have actually tried to mitigate some of these lanes a bit. They're running the Kunkka off lane, and they're running the Viper mid. And
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
actually.
so far, pretty good for Viper. You can see he's actually scared RL away from the top water rune. He's got 2 points already in the poison attack, so it looks like his first lane was successful. No points in Nether Toxin, so he is super heavy on this harass, which is why he's committing and even missing some CS to just force away the Lesh, because he knows Lesh cannot tank him right now.
Yeah, that's a really good fix, actually. I mean, Diabolic Edict is still okay against Viper, but you have to get too close to him that you just die to the poison attack. Good job by Solji as well. You can tell he's a Viper player because he just wants to make Lesh's life miserable. And he's going to get the kill, I think, with the poison attack. Yep, the last tick. First blood. And the TP is way too late. He comes in with tag team as well. Oh, that's one of those TPs where in a pub it's fine because you're just doing it to make sure your mid player doesn't tilt, but in a pro game you don't need to do that. Tag team, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're sapping experience a bit, which is okay, I guess, because your lane is not... You're not doing anything in your lane, but you're not going to help the Lesh there.
Yeah, that's basically when you go, sorry, bro. Yeah.
I think if you TP actually earlier, it's worse because you might just die to the Viper too. So,
yeah, with level 1 tag team, yeah, that seems to be kind of the only outcome in that lane. So, tough start then for 5ManMidas. This Viper mid lane pick is really working out, and down bottom, even Little Boy is experiencing a bit of harass. He's only got level 2 Jingu here, so he can't tank through this. There's a big lifesteal though, but with the Fury swipes now stacking up, and the Thunder Strike ending, Kamar just needs one more.
Well done.
Oh, and with a Mischief. I don't know if that quite saved him or not, but it sure did look flashy, and now they're looking to turn as well into Steel Borko with boots on Tusk, but no abilities. He's going to have to let that Disruptor ride into the sunset.
I think it did, because he has 9 stacks of Furious Swipe. That's 171 damage extra that from the attack. I think he was dead there if he didn't avoid it. Well done. Little boy with the flashy plays.
Yeah.
Oh, that was very impressive. That was an important kill, because obviously the Monkey King Ursa lane is not the easiest lane for Monkey King to dominate. If you don't dominate that lane with Monkey King off lane, why'd you pick this hero, right? Kunkka off lane actually has a lot of utility in the mid game with the Make Water build.
I love that
Monkey
build.
King does not.
Love
It's
that
great.
build, yeah.
But like Monkey King off lane doesn't have that, so you kind of rely on having a better lane. And that kind of gave it to them, honestly. Little Boy's been playing this pretty well. He even allowed Tusk to rotate, get some experience mid. Like, it's actually turning out pretty decent for 5ManMidas.
They're looking to cut off the Undying here, who has been mostly uncontested in this top lane, speaking quite frankly, because the Kunkka is a pretty good matchup for him. Level 2, they did commit the Viper to rotate all the way over here. He was trying to snipe the Bounty Rune and was cut off, so I don't know. This is a little bit of breathing room to RRL. I'm just surprised they decided to let up the pressure mid is all.
Okay, interesting rotation, like really early rotation for a Viper. You usually don't see this
little boy
that early.
Yeah.
Bottom?
I mean, sure. Super active.
It's an interesting way. You usually don't see this from a Viper as much, right? Especially against heroes that can push your lane out. But it's kind of working out for them. He's not level 6 yet, though. He's losing some experience.
Yeah,
and Lesh is giving some damage to the tower.
It's level 3 Edict, too, so he is here to push the tower.
I'm uncertain if this is entirely the right... I can see why you're trying to mitigate some of the effect of the early lanes for 5ManMidas, so it's not wrong to do these. But it's also... You're also losing a bit of the mid matchup, so... It's a bit half-half, because Rubik is actually pretty good at defending mid, so you can actually just rotate Rubik, and I think they just were a bit late on that. If Rubik rotates earlier, and he annoys the Lesh, if Lesh goes a bit too far with Edict, you telekinesis him in, and you can even TP and kill him.
He's going to try and actually make a little wrap play, but here's the Tusk rotating to refill the bottle. Yeah, I mean, I think the reason they made the play was, you know, Ursa Monkey King. It was a last pick Ursa. You have to justify it, right? Because it solves so many issues in your drafts, and already that lane was actually starting to get a little bit difficult. So I understand the rotation. It's just going to be up to 5ManMidas to see if they can turn this into anything. Great. And
they do. It's going to be the Rubik dying here. They don't destroy the Tombstone, though. They're just going to concentrate on RRL, hoping the poison kills him. Poison, plus across the skin, it will. That's going to be RRL going down in exchange for a support. Not the best of trades. In fact, Ray could be in trouble as well, but they use the Glimpse. They can't cancel his DP, and poison attack won't have enough damage to kill him.
Yeah, really nice job there. Lots of action mid lane, so I think both teams now kind of acknowledging, okay, this Ursa Monkey King is a little bit stabilized for Ursa. He's not going to be too bothered here by the presence of the Monkey King. The only issue top right now is for Felt, where Lies is basically has been free versus the Kunkka. But Deucet doesn't really have the damage either to harass out the Kunkka either, and he can always threaten to push because of his good wave clear. And like we said, we have the Ursa for Felt to deal with the Deusa. So as long as we enable the Ursa warrior and Kunkka has experience, I think Felt can rest easy about this laning stage.
Yeah, I agree. I was expecting more from 5ManMidas.
Me too.
Yeah, at least if you look at the beginning of the draft, I mean, granted, in the end of the draft it was fixed, but in the beginning, I think their idea was definitely try to do a better lane. And Deuce is also a good laner, so that's not taking away much from them. At least they have the late game option, though, so it's not as bad if they hadn't picked the Deuce. But they haven't played to the Undyings or Tusk strengths as much. However, we'll see. We still have like a solid 8-9 minutes where Undying might be the strongest hero in the game.
It's true. Yeah, he's still only level 3, though, so the experience gain is something to just kind of take a concern to look at here. Nothing too crazy yet. We don't need to go to the ER over it, but we need these, or sorry, 5ManMidas rather, they need these levels in Tombstone if they really want to be fighting as aggressively as I think they want to, if they want to force these tower sieges where they will be the definitively stronger team. Because level 1 Tombstone ain't nothing to write home about. I think, Ava, as you were saying, this kind of stems, not to be dramatic, but, you know, in professional games especially, that one rotation that Tusk makes, you know, where he's not able to help his side lane anymore, and, you know, he's still trapped at level 1 mid lane, that stuff does start to really have a big impact, you know. You always talk about how Dota is going to favor the aggressor as well, there they go underneath the tier 1 tower. Steel Borko scouted it out. Bolo with the snowball picks up the kill. There's going to be a boat, but it's not going to hit the Monkey King. Once again, Little Boy with the mischief, able to at least avoid the damage, but there's plenty of damage coming now from Comart. Ooh, gets off Jingu, but too many stacks of the Fury swipes will still condemn him.
Oh. RL joins though. And he actually is going for the Kunkka. Tanky's hero doesn't care. Ice Shard traps him.
Nice.
Well done. Well predicted, actually. Because usually you put them right on the cliff, right? But he knew Kunkka was going to get away, so well done. And there's even more space for the Dusa. So on your side, or sorry, on your side, on Felt's side, yeah, that's going to be biased caster for sure. On Felt's side, the Viper rotated, so he lost some time there. You had nobody farming and taking advantage of all the space in the rest of the map, whereas Lies didn't rotate. So it was actually a better trade overall for 5ManMidas due to that.
Yeah, now they're going to send the Monkey King top lane as his bottom is basically over. He can't farm there anymore without just kind of dying. And this is kind of the weakness of the Monkey King when it is kind of counted in the lane, is that he doesn't give you the typical tower pressure that your normal offlaner would. That being said...
or team fight either, or like catch potential.
Yeah,
like
yeah. He can be a bit of a problem for sure. Who did we see? Who was bait, but who was playing it? Sexy Fat.
No,
right?
it was. Oh my God! Don't remind me.
Yeah.
Of that. We watched the game when we were doing EU Div 2, where the first item was Radiance, right?
Yeah.
It was unmonking awfully.
Yeah. So
I was clicking that report for not playing his roll button. It didn't go through.
So luckily for 5ManMidas, RRL is able to kind of mitigate this issue of not really having super good tower push, because of course he's just sieging the heck out of these towers. There's a level 3 tombstone that they're going to have to deal with that, but first they're looking for kills. RRL is just going to be able to TP out. Ray as well is going to leave. And that's the issue, right, with having no real bespoke tombstone hitter, because right now Viper is very much a ramp-up hero, and as is Ursa, and they both kind of have to focus down tombstone, which just allows everyone to leave. Disruptor needed to be there a bit faster.
So here, there's two ways to look at this. On one hand, you could say that Felt might be wasting their time a bit too much in these fights and rotating too many other cores in these fights, which is true. But on the other hand, you could also point out that 5ManMidas is the stronger team in the early game, and Felt feels like they have to contest this with all their heroes.
Yeah.
So maybe 5ManMidas is just playing this better in that regard, and they're just acknowledging their strength, and that's why they're pushing with, like, they're just forcing engagements that are favorable to them in terms of numbers, and wasting enemy team's time.
Yeah.
So either way you can see this, either 5ManMidas is playing this really well according to their draft, or Felt is just kind of falling into the trap of the enemy team. But either or, it's good for 5ManMidas.
I think I actually kind of prefer this for Felt, because I could foresee a scenario where 5ManMidas, they start picking off towers, they start closing off the map, and once, you know, your map is really, pardon me, closed off, it's not as open. It makes it pretty obvious,
it's dark.
Yeah, where you're playing, right? And again, we've already highlighted how good of an AoE kind of control, lockdown an area 5ManMidas have. So the bigger your map is, the more you have, more area you have to farm, the more space, especially Ursa has to farm before he gets items up, I think is going to go a long way towards Felt. So I actually really like how they're so proactive in the defense. Now they're just going to trade, though. It's time.
Yeah, but exactly. But as long as you trade, it's fine. You also don't have tower as much tower push, because at least they have Lesh, and you have what?
You've got wave clear. You've got wave clear, but not a lot of tower
damage.
damage
Wave clear.
Until Viper Shard. Here they go, actually.
So
5ManMidas are smoking the triangle.
Oh, that's a good smoke, actually. And Kunkka might dive with this to Dev. Walrus Sponge. The Ice Shard misses. Never mind. Good smoke. Not the perfect execution. And actually trying to contest this. Once again, rotating their big core Viper here. Fight the enemy team. X marks the spot. They go for the Undying. Bring him back as a pig. Hit by the ghost ship. They do lose the Borko, though, in the backlines. The Tombstone is making it difficult for them to come in. Ursa gets rid of it. Now, thanks to the magic wand, the Kunkka's going to last a fair amount, but he's dying in the Wukong's command. Too much uncontrollable damage, and the Viper joins him as well. And Kamart feels like he just wasted his time here. Wanted to go in the circle, wanted to kill his Monkey King, but doesn't know how to initiate here.
He's not going to reach him either, trying to cut down the tree. He'll just be left to continue farming. And that was basically the team fight that we were talking about this entire time. What? Oh. Okay, they're okay.
Yeah, that was... Okay, so this is the worst case scenario of what they were doing, right? Rotate all your heroes and you still lose the fight. That's not good. Especially in your triangle. Maybe this is when they have to start realizing Midas is just too strong.
Yes.
And you just have to try to avoid them.
Yes, I think that's exactly what it is. I think you push them back and you engage them to waste their time while Ursa and maybe Kunkka or Viper farm somewhere else on the map. But you have to acknowledge that right now, with Tombstone almost maxed, with the ultis especially, 5ManMidas, they're just making so much space for the Dusa. They're forcing you into bad fights, which you can't really win. And they just kind of have to play poke and prod. Their draft's not really meant for it. And again, this is where normally your supports would come in and help a little bit more. But that's the problem when you first pick your two supports. You know, you don't really get this flexibility. You don't get these early game power spikes to really go in your favor.
Yeah, I think your only lane cutter, or your dead laner even, both, is the Kunkka. Rubik can kind of do it, somewhat. But he's really fragile. He'll die.
Oh, this is a good play. Tombstone down. Tombstone stolen.
Okay, that's very good. Static Storm is well used, just for the Undying, however. At least they can get one kill off this. Is going to be on Ray. Smoke for 5 is not what you're looking for.
I think this is Roche,
especially
though.
with the commitment.
It's Roche, though.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Because Tombstone is down, right?
Yep.
That's your powerful spell. Sure. It's not just a 5, it's Undying, so fair enough.
It's Undying into this Roche control. They must have timed as well Wukong's command. It's going to be off cooldown soon, but they're already engaging the mid lane. Boat onto 2 is good money, but the Viper's already gone down. Viper Strike is not going to be enough damage. RL with the Yule Scepter dodging a lot of that damage. X Mark, though, into nothing is just to make space for Ursa.
Okay,
yeah, it was just to make space for Ursa, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think he wanted to go for the kill, but you know when you X mark, you're like, everything's on cool. Earn him! Die, Lesh, die! Because you can't get close to him. So it's just this awkward situation where you're an offlane cook and you realize you lack the capability to go in. He did go for a Vanguard, though, which is quite interesting.
Yeah,
don't see this very often,
I saw this as well. I actually don't mind the item because...
Oh, Kamart's dying, though. There's the Aegis lost.
Oh, no.
He was solo farming in the enemy jungle. And now they can take him down a second time, potentially. The rest of the team comes join him. Kinetic Field. Okay, there's one of the enemy team for now. Kamart and Rage is about to go out, but he did get away. No, the Walrus Punch will keep him in place for an extra second. They gotta follow up. Lakunka is keeping the enemy team in place. They actually don't want to go into
Stone
this.
Gaze is big.
A bit scary. Viper joins us as well. Static Storm and right on the Dusa. Quite tanky, however, but they caught her with a Torrent. She's out of mana, and she will be dying. Lies is out. They're going for Solji next. Solji will fall quickly to the tag team, and they even have the opportunity to go for Zor now. And Zor, unfortunately,
he's tanky.
Quite tanky. A lot of area damage. Charging on the ghost ship, hoping the enemy team is going to walk into it. Little boy does not avoid it successfully. So Zor is capable of walking out. Hard to tell who's winning in these fights until the very end.
Oh.
And in fact, now we're going to find out Little Boy didn't know this either, and so he's going to die as well.
Yeah, I think they severely underestimated. First of all, 2 big steals there by Rubik. Kind of my MVP there. Wake me up. Puts down another stolen Tombstone, and then proceeds to steal Stone Gaze, which forces them to split the fight twice, and that's not what 5ManMidas wanted to do. Lesh ends up kind of isolated. Dusa ends up extremely isolated. They actually drop an amazing Static Storm onto her as well, and she doesn't move. She tries to tank through it, and they made Bolo's life difficult because you drafted Tusk partially for their Snowball save against a lot of this nuke damage that Felts do kind of have, and he just wasn't able to get in there. Really, really great fight from Felts. Unfortunately, we have to remember, it started with them losing Aegis, so...
Yes. The initial play that started that fight was just not good.
Yeah. So, because it was a good recovery, but yeah.
Sure. Like, Kamar going to enemy jungle is not a bad play by the traditional way of space, right? Like, if you take it tier 1, enemy jungle is now yours. Oh, nope, this is bad.
Yeah, he's in for a lot of hurt here. Gets off the Enrage. Tombstone's down. He's going to try and get through this. They're just going to control him through. Team's coming over, but they're going to be way too late to really do anything about this. They may look for revenge. Tombstone is denied by the Undying, as stolen Ice Shards will force Tusk into an awkward position, but 5ManMidas, they're mighty happy with that Ursa kill. He actually had Blink Dagger on the way, so he's at a pretty big power spike now with Blink Diffusal, able to close the gap basically instantly to this Dusa, who doesn't really have much to defend against an Ursa.
I think you're just farming in the wrong space. Like, yeah, because you took the tier 1, technically this enemy jungle should be yours, but usually there's an intermediate step between that, which is warding
the line,
and I didn't do
as
that.
well. And they were
the what?
The line, as Winter would call it.
Oh right, like he crossed it earlier. I think he was fine here. He just doesn't have any wards. Like the enemy team has defensive wards there.
I always consider this to be the line, and especially after this was dewarded after you got killed here under Aegis. I just think it was a mistaken positioning.
Okay. Fair enough, fair enough. I can see, though, by a traditional understanding of space that it wasn't, like, I get where he was coming from. But at the same time, I do think that in this specific lane, that was not the right play. Now you take tier 1, though. Now, in mid, now you can go and take the enemy triangle a bit more. This is actually a decent play. The enemy team has a lot of zone out, however. They want to go for Bolo first. Nice use of the snowball there.
Big Static Storm
is not going to catch him. Yeah, it does stop Medusa a bit, but thanks to her Stone Gate, she's going to keep herself alive. In fact, the Kunko's died first. Now joined by the 2 supports, though, on 5ManMidas. They go for Komart next. Komart is not going to last as Viper Strike onto RRL, and he will have to sacrifice himself, but in exchange for a Viper, so not a bad trade there, as mid dies for mid. Wake me up, tired of this, trying to TP away, but unfortunately he's going to be awoken with a rude Boundless Strike, and that's going to bring him down as well.
Can't wake up. That's tough. And there was another fight where we saw actually really great tombstone placements from Ray. He throws it onto the low ground, and there's only a disruptor there. And Steel Borko, he casts his spells, and he's just hitting tombstone the entire fight, but he's just not doing anything to the tombstone, and eventually just has to TP away. So pretty difficult fight for him to try and take there.
I think they have to consider what they need to do against Dusa, because last fight they had enough damage to bring her down, but it's 2 Static Storms dropped on the Dusa, which is, what are you doing with the Static Storm against her? Like, if she has Stone Gaze off already?
Yeah. Right? I think last
So-
fight it was better, and this one was okay because you also caught the Monkey King, which prevents the Wukong. But generally, yes, I agree with you. I think they kind of have to reevaluate how strong they are in these fights, even with Ursa Diffusal. Yeah.
And Blink. It's tough, though, because the animation for Stone Gaze is not the clearest thing in the world, so canceling it with Static Storm is honestly... it's difficult. You might make that mistake where you think you're about to cancel Stone Gaze, it's already off. Because the screaming, there's a little bit of a delay before it actually starts screaming.
And then
So she might have gotten off before you Static Storm, even with a 0 cast point to do it.
So Kunkana with a full Spirit Vessel is going to do a lot of work versus Undying because he went for the Holy Locket build. And something that I was...
And Lesh.
And Lesh, true. Well, for now he's not going for the healing builds. We'll see.
Never mind, yeah.
But you're right. It
you
nullifies
have more HP,
that.
But
It closes off that
exactly.
avenue.
You just have heals.
But as I was going to say, this allows Viper, who is kind of usually the tank. Well, he used to be played as a tank. I think he's much better played as this role, where he just deals damage, gets BKB, gets Eye of Scotty. This allows him to just go kind of more greedy into these items. So I think not only did the decision to swap lanes from Kunkka mid to off lane was a good one, they're also itemizing it for it very, very well. So great adjustment from Felt in this game.
Can we point out something as well that we mentioned the Vanguard earlier, right? And he disassembled that into the Hooded Defiance and the Spirit Vessel.
Oh, that's really clever.
Yeah. It is something that we've seen before. It's not the first time we see it, but like, it's cool. I always like when players do this. It's very efficient because the Vanguard it's a really good transitional item.
Oh, yeah.
It's honestly one of the best items early, especially for pushing towers. So now he just makes use of it without needing to keep a Vanguard.
But it's a really awkward item to have late game because Abyssal's not really that good anymore. And it's...
And what, are you going to build Crimson Guard this game?
Yeah.
It's actually... Yeah. It's actually not bad against Dusa, I'll be honest.
No, it's not bad.
Crimson Guard's kind of decent.
It's not bad, but that's why you 10th picked the Ursa, right?
Yeah. And Kunkka also has Ghost Ship. Like, the synergy between Crimson Guard and Kunkka as a whole is not very high, or Ursa.
Great map read, by the way, from Felt. They saw this smoke coming, and they just get the heck out of it. They dodged that freight train. But
I just want to point out, I think Felt has, after 2 deaths from Ursa, has realized, I think 5ManMidas is playing their death lane. I think that's where they're staying most of the time. All right, let's go. They've learned. I like this. This is good. This is good adaptation, right?
yeah, but the only issue is now Medusa is starting to flex this natural farm advantage she has, especially as Ursa, of course, playing versus Medusa, as you would expect him, has gone for Diffusal and not the Battle Fury of olden days. This is a great smoke gank for them. They could look to change the pace of this, but Bolo's perfectly in position to break the smoke.
Good Stone Gaze, though. Well, they bring her back with the X. Now there's the Static Storm actually keeps her right after the Stone Gaze, so it's pretty okay. And you wanted more people inside of it, however. And now they have to fight without it into that Wukong's command. The wave helps them out ever so slightly, but thanks to the BKBs, Solji will still die. And with the Yule Scepter, they might catch the bear as well.
Yeah.
Splitter hits them. There's too much damage. Glimpse will not help them in time. RL will get the kill, in addition to Steel Borko also falling. So the Static Storm was better timed this time, because at least it was after Stone Gaze, so they just wanted to, like, the Stone Gaze was ending. So at least you actually had some use there to stop the Mystic Snake. But it still wasn't good enough because you caught nobody but the Dusa.
No, yeah. And what a beautiful tidal
Also
wave,
BKBs.
right? I loved that tidal wave from Zone. I mean, if you called the BKBs in that fight, that kind of stopped them from really doing much at all with the wave, but I think it's the proper builds this game. I think we saw how it could potentially work to get Ursa a little bit of breathing space, but 5ManMidas, again, they're just so strong, and something that, again, their supports do a lot better, especially this Tusk, and even Undying to a point, is they tank these smoke ganks super well, and they just buy so much time. Tombstone dropped, defensively in the secret shop, a snowball to buy a little bit more time, and all of a sudden there's 5 people there from 5ManMidas ready to fight in their triangle. They felt they've got to understand that with this tier 1 bottom, with this tier 2 mid, they can connect so quickly, and it's got to be a fast kill or immediate back up, because, again, without a Centaur, they struggle with Tombstone. They struggle in these long fights.
Yeah, they really lack the... Like, they have just nothing against all the Zona. And then you can even tell in the way they move. Oh, are they really going to go for the Kunkka? Tidal Wave? Ah, yes, that broken interaction is awesome. So in case you guys didn't know, when you go invulnerable and Tidal Wave hits you as you leave invulnerability with a bunch of spells, for some reason it pushes you forward rather than backward. I do not know why.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah. So it happens with other spells, like I think Astral Imprisonment is another example, stuff like that. It's just weird. I don't understand exactly why. But if you play a Make Water Kunkka, which I suggest, by the way, it's actually pretty solid offlane.
It's so fun. Yeah, it's so fun as well. And I think this is actually kind of a... someone needs the halberd this game for sure, but I also love the Ag Scepter generically speaking.
Yeah.
But they're going to try and contest this Roche. Oh, the Tidal Wave didn't connect on anyone, Avo. Now Steel Borko in trouble. They're going to look to fight. 3 people caught now in the Static Storm, but Monkey King going to be able to BKB it off. He's going to be okay. They've left the eggs.
Oh, they saved them.
Oh, no, they're okay, actually. They've left only the slippers as they are going to jump onto one more. That's a big kill, though. Ursa, he's going to just turn and murder the Lash. Viper, though, to fall inside the Wukong's command is in the Snowball. There's a screaming Medusa, and she's going to come out with a Fury, putting down the Ursa yet again. A 3-for-1 fight. Felt it just didn't really seem all put together there trying to contest that Roche.
Yeah. We also talked in the draft that the first 2 Roches were crucial, I would say, for Felt. Or you said that, actually, for Felt. And now they just lost the second one, which is a pretty big deal. Especially because I think Dusa got the shard, yeah. And she's like, well, I mean, if I got the shard, I might as well go for the Ags now, right? And that makes it even harder to kill her. And you're starting to get to the point where Felt's like, what do we even go on in the beginning of the fight? I actually like your point about the Ags Kunkka, because I think that would be a decent way to deal with the amount of zona. You just kind of fight in an area, and you go and put the Ags. You go, well, fight at me now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
and it's tough.
And you don't have BKB on this Kunkka either, so even if you get Stone Gaze, your Torrents might actually still end up catching the Dusa, for example.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
and you can run away with the Torrents as you walk off, right? Because it follows you, so it's like pretty. I like that idea because you just have no option. Like your draft, that big weakness was not solved during your draft. I think we overhyped the Ursa because, oh, good core-to-core matchup, but what do you deal with the rest of the draft, right? The rest of the draft is still important. And
so, like, conceptually, yeah. Avo, because now we've got a little bit of time to talk about this. Conceptually,
sure.
When is the timing that an Ursa, especially a 10th pick Ursa versus a Dusa, should be able to bring the fight to her? Is it with this diffusal blink timing?
Yeah, diffusal. Usually diffusal's enough, but like diffusal blink should be more than enough. He was always behind. Like the problem the Ursa's having though is that we've been talking all this time is like, oh, Dusa is a core, but he's just struggling against Monkey King and Lesh. And at the end of the day, remember we were talking about the draft, and we're saying that the core of this draft of 5ManMidas is still Lesh, right? That's how they're drafting around. That's still true, just because they picked up the 10th pick Dusa.
Yeah.
Like when you looked at Team Spirit's draft in TI, and you look at how they were drafting, when they last picked a Terrorblade, that doesn't mean the whole draft was planned to go on the Terrorblade. It was still on the idea of collapse and Tron Tokyo, right? That's how they drafted. So just because the carry gets picked and all of a sudden this is the main point in a game, doesn't mean that you can just ignore the whole point of the draft to begin with. And I think the Ursa's just struggling to get there to begin with.
See, that's you put it into words much better than I could, but that's kind of why I preferred something like the Morphling to this Ursa, because you like you're saying, you can't ignore the rest.
That's
of the
better
draft.
against the rest.
Yeah, right. And I like his chances late game a bit better, especially as you can. I mean, who do you morph into this game? Maybe Tusk, Walrus Sponge, or with the
I can see that.
maybe Undying, right? 2 Tombstones if Rubik can steal it. I don't know.
Like my issue is not the Ursa so much. My issue is the Viper.
Okay.
To be honest, because if you talk about the Ursa, like you're right. I'm actually because now you look at this and you go, Morphling could reposition the fight, right? That's the best way to deal with the zone up. Just reposition the fight, so you fight in your terms. And Morphling's really good at that because he has waveforms later, 2 waveforms. It's just really easy for him. But then what do you do with a Viper? Every single fight, Viper's just kind of going, well, that's me. It's like a Bugs Bunny bit here and just kind of dies in the middle of it. Why? Because he's Viper. What is he going to do? Even if he bought Hurricane Pike, he would still be really limited in mobility. So even if Ursa managed to reposition or managed to play these fights well, if you had a Morphling as a change, you would still have a mid laner that goes in and either gets a kill and dies or just dies.
Yeah.
And that's the best case scenario. Get a kill and die.
And he's kind of getting owned right now. He's got BKB, so you'd expect him to last a little bit longer and be more durable in this next fight. But I think the really big issue is, something that does pierce magic immunity, although the damage doesn't, is Ice Shards, right? Because the pathing is still going to mess with you.
True.
And that's a really big issue if you're trying to run away from a Tombstone, if you're trying to get out of Wukong's command, which again, like you've highlighted, he is dying to. So that's still slightly concerning, and I think a nice piece of draft work from 5ManMidas as they now complete the... What patch was the Deuce? 728 was it? 729? But she's got the items now.
Yeah, the Ag
she's ready to go.
Disgusting.
And Eye of Scotty as well is brutal versus Viper. He had to go BKB this game, but oh my goodness, now he's going to be having a pretty rough game.
Yep. It's tough. I don't know now, because the Ursa's also 6k behind. Even with a good core-to-core matchup, 6k is usually the moment you're like, yeah, it doesn't matter how good the core-to-core is. If you ever tried Lifestealer versus Sven with a 6k difference, it's no longer as good, right?
And I mean, like, this is also one of the worst heroes to give an item advantage to, because she takes unusual advantage of it with split shot. Static Storm, as they look to jump on a Comart, they're going to throw down the Wukong's command. Ursa, though, is going to BKB. Snowball is going to not allow him to get this kill onto the Tusk. A Stone Gaze, they're just going to go on in. Tidal Wave to get Deuce off the high ground, as well as a Glimpse, but they get through the Rubik. They've killed, the Tusk. So it's a 1-for-1 trade, support for supports, and 1 minute left of Aegis. So 5ManMidas can still pretty confidently push up the high ground.
Well, you don't have ultimates though now. So I guess Felt theoretically should be able to get, like, if this is not a good time to fight, when is it? Because you have no Stone Gaze, no Wukong's command, you only have a Lesh existing. I guess Tombstone's still up, so that's an ultimate in itself. Okay, thank you for the ward. Yeah, they're going to retreat. Okay, I think the smart choice, even if you think you're stronger, is just to slightly retreat here. The Aegis on Dusa does not mean that much, because usually she's going to be the last kill in the fight now. And so if you kill her once, you kill her twice, most likely.
And the good news for Felt especially is that they've got really, really annoying high ground defense. Rubik is great at defending waves just with Fade Bolts. Kunkka with Torrent or even the Tidal Wave can clear waves pretty easily. Disruptor's even not bad in this role, right? Glimpsing heroes off the high ground. Oh, Ursa gets a good blink out in time. That was pretty close, especially because he did not have BKB, so that would have been very painful. He's now bought out, by the way, for the Earthshock Shard. Of course, they didn't get second Roche, so he had to buy it himself, which... it's never fun.
That feels bad.
Yeah, it's never fun for an Ursa.
Yeah, as an Ursa, he doesn't understand what that means. You know, he's never bought the shard before, so he has to like search for the shop and actually write it down.
Well, really, the problem is it's not so much the Ursa that doesn't understand; it's the little tiny Ursa miner on top of him that gets so sad. He's like, "But what do you mean we have to pay for it?"
Well, yeah, exactly. Because then, like, the mom goes, "You're not gonna get your food tonight. I hope you know, because we have to buy the shard." He's like, "But mom, it's been 2 days a week I haven't eaten." But this Ursa's just starved for farm. The Snake Lady's taking everything.
I have not caught a fresh salmon in years. Oh, no, he's gonna go for not quite a salmon, but a walrus, and he's gonna absolutely murder him. There's only Ray nearby, but they've got control of the outpost. Yeah, so he's gonna have to TP. Tombstone drop just to scare him. Just okay. Maybe he'll cancel the TP to farm my Tombstone.
What was that?
There's no one coming, Ursa.
That's the idea. I guess if you farm it, you stop him. That's pretty fun.
That's when you drop the items, you know, and try and get him to turn.
Well, I've seen that, right? That's the most SA play in the world. Yep. You drop the items to make sure they
they go, what the heck, this punk? I don't think so. You can't leave punks unsatisfied, you know.
Yep. I'll leave them to win TIs. That's what happens.
It's true.
Okay, last desperate smoke attempt I felt seems like.
I mean, it does kind of feel desperate when you look at how big this Dusa is. Can they even kill this Dusa? They need Ursa needs a lot of, you know, personal time with Dusa, I think, to get this kill. Some intimate, you know. He's got to, I don't know, set up the den and make sure that no one else can touch him. Oh.
Has to bring his baby in, because otherwise Dusa's not going to go.
RRL, BKBs, but there's a Viper Strike. Yule Scepter is going to buy him time. Rubik, trying to be a hero is just going to be absolutely demolished. It's a good effort. It's pure damage now on the Edict, so it goes through the BKB, but tough for him as Dusa now onto the high ground. They're pushing like they have an Aegis, but of course they don't. Tidal Wave.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we'll get them off the high ground. As they attempt to clear these waves, Little Boy from the side, they're going to blow up the Disruptor. No chance for him to get off the Static Storm. They've also caught Soul G, part of me, doesn't want to be here. Wukong's command is through. There's Stone Gaze, and Ursa, trying to fight through this one, is going to be forced back and out of the Wukong's command. Tier 3 tower finally will go down. 5ManMidas are not going to push their luck any further after the buyback.
We're looking for the tidal wave here, but I don't think he's gonna catch up to anyone. That was rough, because the whole plan for an Ursa is like kill one person, continue fight, kill another person, right? Like kill one person and get the advantage. And Comart's like, how do I start this plan? I can't kill a single hero because the Monkey King has too much armor and now actually kind of tanky with all the items. The Lesh is always in a position which is just unreachable. The Dusa is Dusa. So I guess you like try to kill Undying or Tusk. Something, by the way, I want to point out that doing really well is, I guess people don't know, Tag Team works with crits. Like, you will crit off the damage of Tag Team, and they're always using Tag Team with Boundless Strike, which is a guaranteed crit. So, that's why you should always Tag Team before Walrus Punch. And they're always getting Boundless Strike with Tag Team, and that just blows up supports who have no armor. like Rubik and Disruptor.
Yeah, poor Disruptor. He's got this Ogre Axe because he's dreaming of getting an Axe Scepter one of these days. My goodness, they've absolutely just blown him up. There's a source of crit already, huh? Oh, Ursa? Okay, well, speaking of crits.
That's good. I mean, you killed one person, it's Bolo.
Silver
It's
Edge.
not the ideal, but I think it's the only hero that Ursa can actually kill.
Yeah, that's what he's basically been doing all game. So
Oh, what are you doing?
Oh, Viper, he's in trouble. Yep, they're going to buy back on this.
Bait?
Yeah, they four-staffed the wrong way as well. That was his own four-staff Avo, and the kinetic field is not going to save him. Oh.
Okay, I actually have an explanation for this. He got glimpsed back. I think he force-staffed Little Boy as he just acted as BKB, and so instead he just force-staffed himself by accident, right? Because they were right next to each other.
Could have been.
So sorry, he has a Hurricane Pike. So he Hurricane Piked Little Boy, and they had BKB, so it ignored him and it went on Viper instead.
That's 3 dead, and Felt, their high ground defense, without a Kunkka, without a Viper, is mighty difficult. Feels about impossible for Kamar to just jump in here and you know, get that one-on-one time with the Dusa. Not going to be finding it, but they're low on ultis right now. There is no Tombstone either.
Okay. That's the Enrage. Oh no, that's the Enrage, sorry. They got turned to stone. Kamar losing Enrage and BKB at the same time. That's not great use of your time. In fact, you're just gonna die. Yeah, Enrage BKB, when you have to combine them, you know the team fight's rough, and that's GG.
That is going to be GG.
Yeah. I think they got outdrafted personally. I think the gameplay wasn't the cleanest by Felt, to be honest. I do feel like the amount of engagements they took where they thought they could just force their cores to just fight